The World Cup is the greatest event of all time. The passion, the joy, the hope football brings to create a sense of togetherness of different cultures all around the world is the reason why I truly believe that football is the greatest sport of all time. We can go from two fans from two rival clubs completely ripping each other's heads off to then all of a sudden coming together as a country to shit on other countries. Truly beautiful, man. The matches are great, the memes are 10-10, underdog stories are emotional, and when the final actually lives up to the hype, it's truly all there. And when that team finally lifts that trophy and that country gets excited and celebrates, there's nothing better than that. It's generally truly a special moment for the country. But then you have to wait 4 years. Reality hits. You remember you have to go back to another season of club football. Your team's either winning the league with oil money, or your club is an institution of useless twats who get paid over 100k a week who can't kick a ball to save their flipping life. But then time does a speed run, and you're excited again. Out of nowhere, you completely forget about your team getting battered the other week and trying to fight relegation. But what does that? How does the World Cup evoke that feeling back up again? And I don't think it's the fixtures, the group stages, or even where it's hosted. It's a 3-minute ad you see on your screen. See, I could give a long ass speech about the history of football ads and talk about how they came into fruition in the first place. But fuck all that, man. We don't care. This video is more about why the adverts create such an emotional impact to us for where we actually get excited for the World Cup again, which helped my bar-led South get even more excited for the World Cups. So let's talk. The 2010 Pepsi ad was the first ever ad I ever watched. I was about 6 years old when it came out, and I just remember watching it specifically because everyone came to my house. The uncles, the aunties, the cousins, and that was because for the first time the World Cup was set in Africa. And it just was a good feeling about it, even though South Africa wasn't our country. We know Gambia is not qualifying for the World Cup anytime soon. But that truly didn't matter because we were just happy that our African country was actually hosting the World Cup. And the Pepsi ad coming on just before the first game of Mexico versus South Africa was the perfect way to get us all hyped for the World Cup. It was set in an African village where it had the likes of Messi, Drogba, Henry, Lampard, Kaka and many more, ending up in a village somewhere where they see some Pepsi drip with their name on the back. Henry asked one of the village kids if he can have some Pepsi, and instead of having respect for my goal, they're asking for a football match. So he says, yeah, why not? Instead of actually having a football pitch to play on, the village people actually come together to create a human pitch. And while they have the human pitch, they have Akon singing as well. And it just created a very wholesome moment. On top of that, having funny moments like Messi getting hit by the tree, or Kaka tripping and staring at the meerkat, just so in the environments of the area, to be fair, which was really cool. You just have the African kids smiling, and then having football being the driving force to connect everyone together is really just what the theme of the advert was meant to be, which was really good. And I specifically remember that one moment 6-year-old me was gassed about, where Drogba does that fake shot that all the people like follow through with it. I just felt like that was a cute moment. And honestly, it wasn't just me who was happy about that ad. Everyone around us was like, wow, this is a really good ad, this was cool. And then we got straight into the first game, and it made us enjoy it even more. I will never forget how I stumbled across this ad. Year 5, golden time, pissing down with rain, me and my classmates watching football highlights and seeing a recommended ad and being like, yeah, let's watch it. I specifically remember where everyone was huddled up together on that one computer actually watching it, and we were all just mesmerized because this was the most relatable ad we have ever seen. It was a bunch of UK kids going to their local park, playing football, then calling the players' names, which is things that we did. Only difference was, when they actually did it, they turned it into those players. They were out here calling Zlatan, then doing Zlatan tricks. They're calling Neymar, turning into Neymar, Higuain, Ronaldo. And it was just fun to watch in general. And one of my favorite moments was when Neymar does the back pass and someone goes, Neymar will never do that. And then that same black guy goes to Ronaldo, he's got millions of people screaming his name. Then Ronaldo's like, but not her. It's cold, bro, cold. And after watching that ad, everyone was just gassed. You had everyone calling out players and trying to emulate the player's type of skill. And I specifically remember this one time where my boy yells out Bale, does a knuckleball, I yell out Neuer, try and save it. I saved the shot, but the way he hit the ball on my wrist, I was finished. This ad felt a little bit different to the Pepsi ad, specifically because they had a kid at the end take a penalty against Tim Howard. And when you scored that penalty and everyone was celebrating all around the world, it gives you that feeling that anyone could make it. And it was just a very inclusive ad that I watched like 100 times, I'm not gonna lie. The last game was probably the most important ad when it came to showing the beauty of the World Cup, the power in football advertising, and also foreshadowing the state of current football in a way that 10-year-old me never would have imagined. It was a Nike animated mini-film ad, which had legends featured in it such as Ronaldo, Neymar, Zlatan, Ribery, Tim Howard, and many more, who are living in a period of time where a mad scientist decides to look at the current state of football and decides that everything's a bit too risky, there's too many flaws in the game, so he decides a simple fix to that is removing the humans and replacing them with clones. ads, which causes the free-flowing creative football that we all know to become a perfect systemic game, replacing the current football players to the point where they have to get regular jobs, which leads to the clones not just taking over football but all types of sports, creating a mundane environment throughout the whole world. Online Seeing This decides to bring the players back from retirement to set up a match between the clones where whoever wins takes over football again, which they end up doing where they train a lot, they create the promotion for it, and end up using their flary football and expressive football to actually win the game and save football. Like, I can't lie, bro, that ad was absolutely cold, mate. The ad being animated showed that Nike really took their sweet time with this one. It was a good story that showed young people that if you're playing football, the whole point of it is to be expressive and have fun. The flaws, the mistakes, you trying that Trivela that one time and it missing is all part of the game. And I feel like me at 10 years old, I felt that emotional journey of seeing the players get replaced, come back doubting themselves, then going in there, then showing they are exactly who they think they are. And what I loved about it the most was that Nike chose the most expressive, egotistical players to be at the forefront of this campaign to show how expressive football is meant to be. Having players like Ronaldo, Neymar and Zlatan showed the ego and the flariness, and purposely just representing football and how emotional it actually is. And honestly, 10-year-old me was crying for another ad like this. I was constantly searching for more. I wanted a part 2 to this. But no, Nike and Adidas decide they don't want to put any effort into these ads. Fuck that. Genuine question. What mark has any ad from post 2014 to 2025 had on you? I can't speak for you guys, but for myself, I struggle to think of one. I was speaking to one of my boys about this just about last year, and I was just talking about how the art of football ads has just slowly disappeared at the time. The game is truly gone. And for me personally, it doesn't make any sense for that to be the case because we have so much star quality coming out throughout the years, as well as the rise of social media, which the players are constantly using. Instantly, I think of players such as Vinny Jr., Pogba at the time, Griezmann, Mbappe. These are players that could literally inspire a whole generation to play football the way they played football. But the adverts throughout that period were just not hitting as well as the ones from 2014 and before. And honestly, I needed to understand why. So I took it upon myself to actually look at the ads post the 2014 campaign to the 2025. And I just came to a conclusion. Lack of effort. And best way for me to explain this to you guys is by going through some of the ads. The 2018 Russian World Cup was a decent World Cup, but I can't sit here and tell you I remember the hype for it, because I just don't. All I can remember is that England had a decent run to the point where we got to the semi-finals and lost to Croatia, and then France actually winning the World Cup and producing one of the greatest songs of all time. The only ad that I saw at the time was the Nike Brazil ad, and that was cool, I guess. Had some cool shots, had some cool effects, had some cool references like Ronaldo missing that goal in that airport advert, cool transitions, cool cinematography, cool. But that's about it. The pacing felt rushed, lacked an actual plot to the actual advert, and it just felt like a wow, cool, let me put on some presets and do a bunch of transitions. When I say it's on and the last game works really well, not because it has a bunch of big name players that hold a lot of weight to it, that's just a tool and a stepping stone. But what keeps us locked in is the plots and the morals we get from those adverts and stories for the World Cup. When I say it's on, feels special because amongst all of that chaos, it's still about a bunch of kids who enjoy playing football, went to a park, envisioned themselves actually playing football to the point where they're in the world stage, and having a kid at the end scoring the actual last penalty, winning, and having the whole world scream his name is something every kid can inspire to be. The last game's motto is literally risk everything. It's all about being as expressive as you possibly can, and the World Cup being the best time to do it in front of the whole world and doing it for your country and making a name for yourself. And these simple messages can easily be recycled into any ad campaign. That's something that could have created a lasting hype for the Russian World Cup, but instead you decide to give us a bunch of woo, wow, whoosh, oh I remember that player, oh I remember when this thing happened, with no emotional connection on my screen. The exact feeling I said I had coming towards the 2018 World Cup was pretty much the exact same thing for the 2022 World Cup, even though I personally do believe that that was the best World Cup I ever watched. Although there were ad campaigns there, they weren't really hitting as much. Nike did make a World Cup ad that had effort into it. It had Mbappe playing against some of the OGs like Ronaldinho as well as R9, which took a similar concept to the old Cage advert if you remember that with Eric Cantona. But instead they made it a lab where a bunch of nerds decided to simulate these players to verse Mbappe. And it was cool because different players were there, like Ronaldo as well. They even had my goal, Axel Blaze, there as well, which I was gassed for, but for some reason people didn't get the memo. dickheads. But for some reason I was watching it and it still lacked that spark. And I say that because there wasn't really any story towards that ad. Don't get me wrong, the concept was really cool. And I feel like they could have put a good twist to it where they could have had the OGs versing the new gens, because they had new gens like Van Dijk there as well, versing them and then saying, you guys are the new generation, you guys step up and make the World Cup what it is. But it just lacked a message in general. And that's even more proven when you see Axel Blaze there, as much as I love that, but as well as Ronaldinho being there in a Barca shirt. Come on, man. The message and the impact was right there. You could have talked about the game evolving, which further explains what I was talking about when I said you could recycle concepts, because that's similar to what the last game is. And honestly, it's not just Nike. Adidas has also been a letdown when it comes to these adverts as well. The 2022 one that they did was just boring. I'm sorry, it was just boring. It was just boring. They had a bunch of players getting ready and packing their bags to go to the World Cup with Stormzy commentating over it. Not even rapping, just talking. Just giving these men glaze after glaze after glaze. Like, where is the fun in that? You have big personalities like Jude Bellingham there, but you're not doing anything with it. And the reason why I had to look back at this is because I was just trying to make sure I wasn't just being a nostalgia merchant and just saying that's trash, and that's trash. I'm right. I know I'm right. They didn't put effort into this. The stories and the effort put into these World Cup ads, especially like the 2014 ones, because that's the one I truly remember, is the reason why I love the sport even more, because football is an emotional sport and all you had to do was deliver that with the big names. The emotion audiences have, especially the younger ones, used to actively have us going out and playing football, and then after going onto YouTube and watching those videos over and over and over again. But it just felt like the effort for it all just slowly went away. They just dedicated the quick flashy, put a name drop there, over having something of substance to actually market. And it's generally sad to think about, because I was just thinking at the time, it's just another memory to just think about and just reminisce. That was until Nike released Rip the Script. Rip the Script still shows the importance and love that football ad still holds to every person who loves football. It straight away just gave me the feeling that I had for every other football ad when I was younger. It follows the plot of a film director dictating how the players should play throughout this film, which is a direct correlation to the current state of football right now, where managers tell people to follow their system, otherwise they get kicked to the curb. It shows the director just absolutely fuming at Mbappe for doing an overhead kick instead of a header, which leads to the players and everyone around them just thinking, yo, bond this guy, man, I'm gonna do my own thing. Then the players end up playing possessions, and while they're doing that, they're here destroying all of the sets all around them. And again, proving my point when I say that it's a simple plot that has been recycled but can still make a good message and story, because that's similar to what the last game is. A plot about a systemic, scripted, flawless type of football, trying to take over the players' creativity, and then the players saying, forget this, we're not going to stand for it, then actually doing their expressive football. And what helps is the fact that the ad is actually really creative as well. Has fun movie references, jokes about the GOATs like LeBron and Ronaldo not retiring, Haaland waiting for the right time to actually score, Zlatan being Zlatan, celebrities making their appearances there, and so much more that if I was to go into detail for everything, I'll make this video like 2 hours long. But it generally felt like Avengers Endgame, with Infinity War being the 2018 and the 2022 World Cup ad campaigns. And the Resurgence doesn't even just stop with Rip the Script. Nike have truly decided to rub Adidas's train. They even had the Palace ad with Wayne Rooney. But that's not me saying Adidas is not fighting back. They also had a really good campaign as well, having the likes of Bellingham, Beckham, Yamal, and even Mr. Marty Supreme there. And honestly, it's great to see. Rip the Script felt like the part 2 of the last game that I was craving for when I was a lot younger. Generally just having the moral, explaining that football should be an expressive sport, and what better place to show that than the World Cup. And to see all the current players coming together, agreeing to do this, showing how expressive they are and how much fun they can have doing that, it's something great to see, because it generally has people all over social media talking about it and making videos about it, like this one. The kid who fell in love with the Pepsi ad and loved football even more than he already did is now in a point where he's making videos about the resurgence of them, and I can continue to have the exact same emotions that I did then. And that's all that I asked for, man. The World Cup is every 4 years. All you need to do is create something fun with a good story, references, plot, creativity with big heavy names that creates the atmospheric vibe we all want for the World Cup.